Let's be honest, silence is powerful. That's why the no contact rule has become such a popular strategy after a breakup. But here's what no one tells you. Silence alone doesn't make you unforgettable. What makes you unforgettable is who you become in that silence. And today I want to show you how to go beyond the standard no contact strategy and become the one he thinks about long after the texts have stopped, the calls have gone silent, and the space has grown wide. This isn't about playing games. It's about winning back your power. It's about creating a presence so strong, even in your absence, that he feels you, that he wonders about you, that he realizes he didn't just lose a girlfriend, he lost a woman who transformed into the best version of herself the moment he let her go. So let's start here. No contact is a reset button, not a revenge tactic. It's not about punishing him or trying to manipulate his emotions. It's about giving you the space to clear your energy, restore your confidence, and rewrite the story of your life. But if you want to go beyond no contact, here's what you need to understand. First, you must leave an emotional imprint that lingers. That doesn't come from disappearing, it comes from how you showed up before the silence. Did you walk away with grace, clarity, and dignity, or did you beg, cry, and plead for him to come back? Because a person forgets the one who loses themselves, but he can't forget the one who stood tall, spoke with self-respect, and walked away with her head high. Second, you don't just vanish, you evolve. Use this time to reinvent yourself, not for him, but for you. Change your routines, start new hobbies, hit the gym, build new connections. When people see you out there living fully, without bitterness, without broadcasting your pain, you send a message that is louder than any text you could have sent. I'm doing just fine without you. And that quiet confidence, that's unforgettable. Third, master the art of strategic visibility. This doesn't mean blowing up your social media with bikini shots and cryptic captions. It means subtle cues that show joy, growth, and purpose. A picture with your friends genuinely laughing, a story from a new passion you've discovered, the way you carry yourself if you happen to cross paths. He should never see you trying to get his attention, but he should see that you've become someone even more magnetic in his absence. And then comes the most important part. You own your story. You stop wondering if he'll text. You stop checking if he's watching your stories. You stop hoping he regrets it. Because you're not in the business of waiting. You're in the business of rising. That's what going beyond no contact means. You show him, not through words, but through energy, that you're no longer the woman he left. You're the woman he should have fought for. And that realization, it doesn't come when you message him a heartfelt goodbye. It comes when your silence speaks volumes because of who you became in it. He won't forget you, not because you disappeared, but because you reappeared. In the world, in your own life, in your power, as someone completely transformed. So go beyond no contact. Don't just be the woman who disappeared. Be the woman he'll never stop thinking about. No contact is a concept that gets thrown around a lot after a breakup. People treat it like a magic spell, as if ignoring someone is enough to make them come running back, filled with regret. But here's the truth. Silence alone doesn't create longing. What creates longing, what truly makes someone unforgettable, is the emotional imprint you leave behind before the silence begins. It's the emotional residue that lingers in someone's heart and mind long after you're no longer physically present. That imprint is what separates someone who fades into memory from someone who's impossible to forget. Think about it. We don't remember every person we've dated, but we all have that one person, maybe even just one, who we still think about years later. It's not because they were the most attractive or the most successful. It's because of how they made us feel. The energy they carried, the way they moved through the world, the way they connected with us on a deeper level. Those are the things that stick. Those are the things we can't shake. And those things don't come from simply not talking to someone. They come from who we were before we left. So if you're relying on silence alone, ask yourself this: what are you leaving behind for him to remember? Was your last message to him filled with tears and desperation? Was your final interaction about trying to change his mind, trying to convince him to stay, trying to get answers? If so, the emotional imprint you've left is tied to powerlessness, to pain, to chaos. That's not the version of you that gets remembered with longing. That's the version that people remember and feel guilty about maybe, or sad for, but not drawn back to. The version that becomes unforgettable is the one that walks away calmly, confidently, and with grace. The one who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't crumble. The one who communicates boundaries clearly and then steps away with self-respect intact. That kind of exit doesn't just create space, it creates weight. It creates emotional gravity that pulls on someone's memory long after the silence starts. Why? Because people don't forget how you made them feel in those final moments. When you can look someone in the eye and say, "I love you, but I love myself too," that sticks. When you choose dignity over drama, that lingers. When you make it clear that you're not punishing them with silence, but protecting yourself with peace, you stand out. You become the person who handled pain differently. And in a world where so many people react from insecurity, you become the one who responded from strength. Emotional imprint is about resonance. It's not about loud declarations or dramatic gestures. It's the subtle, powerful way your energy leaves a mark. It's in the way you say goodbye, not with bitterness, but with clarity. It's in the way you don't need closure from them because you gave it to yourself. It's in the way you show them, without ever needing to explain, that you value yourself too much to beg for love. Here's the twist. The emotional imprint isn't even really for him, it's for you. Because when you walk away from someone with self-worth, you carry that confidence into every part of your life. You start to show up differently with friends, with family, at work. You stop needing someone to validate your worth because you've already proven to yourself that you won't settle for less. That energy is magnetic. That's the version of you that lives in someone's head. Not because you tried to make them remember you, but because you became unforgettable through the way you honored yourself. And yes, sometimes that emotional imprint wakes someone up. Sometimes it hits them weeks or months later that they lost someone rare. But whether or not they reach out again, you've already won because you weren't waiting. You weren't just sitting in silence hoping they'd notice. You were growing, healing, and standing in your own power. And that's what makes you unshakable in someone's memory. You see, people don't remember the ones who tried the hardest to hold on. They remember the ones who were willing to let go, even when it hurt. The ones who knew their worth enough to say, if this isn't right for me, I'm not staying. That's the emotional imprint that echoes. So if you want to go beyond no contact, if you want to become truly unforgettable, start by asking yourself, what emotional energy am I leaving behind? What version of me is walking away? Because it's not the absence of your messages that makes him think. It's the presence of your strength, the clarity in your eyes, the love you gave without losing yourself. That's the memory that lingers. That's the imprint that lasts. And that, more than silence, is what he won't forget. When a relationship ends and you decide to go no contact, it can feel like a void. An eerie silence fills the space where someone used to be. But that silence doesn't have to be empty. It can be transformational. In fact, the most powerful thing you can do during no contact is to use that time to reinvent yourself. This is your moment, not to win him back, but to find your center again, to rediscover the parts of you that were neglected, to evolve, grow, and elevate in a way that makes you proud, regardless of who notices. When someone breaks your heart, it's easy to collapse inward. You question your worth. You replay every conversation. You think of what you could have said or done differently. But none of that changes the past. What does change the future is how you respond to this moment. Reinvention doesn't mean changing into someone else. It means becoming the version of yourself that got lost in the relationship, the one who stopped dreaming, the one who compromised too much, the one who settled when they knew they deserved better. This is not about pretending you're fine. It's about building a life that actually makes you feel good again, slowly, authentically, and with intention. Start by reconnecting with what lights you up. Maybe you used to write, paint, dance, or run. Maybe you used to be adventurous or spontaneous. Maybe you stopped doing those things to fit into his world. Now is the time to return to your own. Reinvention is not about revenge. It's not about posting pictures to make him jealous or trying to prove something. It's about real growth. Growth that doesn't need validation because it's grounded in self-love. You don't become unforgettable by trying to get his attention. You become unforgettable by shifting your energy so deeply that if he ever sees you again, he can feel it before you even speak. Every day during no contact is an opportunity. It's a chance to build emotional strength, to build physical strength, to build mental clarity. That means starting your mornings differently. Instead of waking up with sadness, you wake up with intention. You set goals, even small ones. You move your body. You surround yourself with things that nourish you, whether that's books, music, sunlight, or... It's also about changing the way you speak to yourself. No more asking, why wasn't I enough for him? Instead, you begin to say, I'm learning to become everything I need. That subtle shift in self-talk transforms your energy, and over time that energy starts to reflect in how you walk, how you talk, how you carry yourself. People notice. You notice. Reinvention also means expanding your life beyond the identity you held in that relationship. When we're with someone for a long time, our sense of self can get tied to that connection. You weren't just you were his partner. Now you get to rediscover who you are without that label. And that can be scary, but it's also the most liberating part of healing. You may start making new friends. You may explore new places. You may push yourself out of your comfort zone. And in doing so, you start rewriting the narrative. You're no longer the person who was left. You're the person who used heartbreak as fuel to become more alive, more grounded, and more in love with life than ever before. When you truly focus on reinventing yourself, something beautiful happens. You stop wondering if he's thinking about you. You stop needing him to reach out because you're no longer looking backward, you're moving forward. And the woman who moves forward with confidence becomes powerful in a way that can't be ignored. If he ever does come back around, he won't be returning to the same person he left. He'll be facing someone stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. And whether you let him back in or not, it won't matter, because the reinvention wasn't for him, it was for you. Even more importantly, reinvention means healing on a deeper level. It means learning from what happened, not carrying bitterness, but carrying lessons. You recognize where you gave too much, where you stayed too long, where you silenced your voice, and you decide that moving forward, you won't abandon yourself for love. You'll never shrink to be kept. You'll never settle just to stay connected. This version of you doesn't just walk into the room differently. She owns the room, not with arrogance, but with peace, because she knows who she is now. She found herself in the silence. She rose while no one was watching. She bloomed in the dark. So use no contact not as a waiting room, but as a launch pad. Don't just be the girl who went silent. Be the woman who transformed, the one who stopped chasing and started choosing, the one who walked away from the pain and built a life so full, so beautiful, so rich with purpose that even you barely recognize the version of yourself from before. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not because he lost you, but because you found yourself. No contact is not just about staying away, it's about using that space wisely. And one of the most powerful things you can do during this time is to re-enter his mind without ever saying a word. It sounds strange, but the truth is the less he hears from you directly, the more he becomes open to wondering about you. The trick is to trigger his curiosity in ways that are subtle, authentic, and rooted in self-worth, not desperation. This is how you go beyond no contact, not by breaking it, but by making it work harder for you. People think silence is enough, but silence without presence is forgettable. If you disappear completely without any reminder of your evolution, then yes, he may forget. But if you use no contact as a chance to become visible in indirect, powerful ways, you awaken something deeper, a sense of mystery. And mystery is magnetic. Curiosity is a psychological trigger. It's what drives us to check someone's profile, to ask mutual friends how they're doing, to reread old messages. It starts as a whisper in the back of the mind, I wonder what she's up to. And that whisper grows louder when it's fed with subtle, intentional signs that you're not only fine, you're thriving. You don't need to announce it, you just need to live it and let glimpses of it shine through. One way to do this is through strategic visibility. This does not mean constantly posting. It does not mean uploading selfies every other hour that actually reeks of overcompensation and can push someone away. Strategic visibility is about sharing a moment, not your entire life. A photo of you at a beautiful event with genuine joy in your expression. A story where you're immersed in something you're passionate about, not something designed to impress him, but something that shows how deeply immersed you are in living. Here's why that matters. When you're not contacting him and he sees you out there smiling, growing, surrounded by good energy. It creates a tension in his mind. He starts to think, she's not hurting. She's not trying to get my attention. She looks happy without me. That thought is a seed, and once planted, it grows. Especially if he expected you to fall apart or keep chasing. The absence of desperation mixed with the presence of joy is confusing to someone who thought they were the center of your world. You can also trigger curiosity by investing deeply in yourself and allowing that glow to naturally reach the people around you. Word travels. If you're improving, glowing up, starting something new, people talk. Mutual friends might mention it. He might overhear your name in a conversation. Even if he doesn't, your energy shifts. And if he ever stumbles across you, online or in person, he'll notice the difference instantly. Curiosity isn't always visual either. Sometimes it's emotional. He may find himself wondering, did she really move on? Was she really that strong all along? And the answer becomes obvious when you show, not tell, that you're living a life that no longer orbits around him. You're not waiting. You're not frozen in time. You're building. That change in posture, in rhythm, in presence, that's what sparks interest. There's something else that triggers curiosity: unpredictability. When someone thinks they know how you'll respond, they stop thinking about you. But when you don't follow the pattern, when you don't check his stories, don't like his posts, don't engage at all, you become unpredictable. He expects you to reach out. You don't. He posts something to get a reaction, nothing. That unpredictability forces him to pay more attention. And in that space, curiosity grows. But the most important part of all this is your intentions. Don't use these tools to manipulate. Use them to evolve. If your goal is just to make him miss you, your actions will reflect neediness. But if your goal is to genuinely become the happiest, healthiest version of yourself, you'll start radiating confidence without even trying. That kind of energy naturally pulls people in. It's important to understand that curiosity doesn't guarantee he'll reach out. That's not the point. The point is to stop focusing on him entirely and start focusing on what he sees when he looks back in your direction. Does he see the same version of you, frozen in the past? Or does he see someone reborn? That's the real magic. When you stop trying to be visible and start becoming unforgettable, everything changes. You live so fully that your life itself becomes the message. And in doing so, you stay in his mind, not because you chased him, but because you became someone worth wondering about. So don't break no contact. Instead, master the art of moving forward visibly, gracefully, and powerfully. Let your progress echo in the distance. Let your joy become the thing he can't stop thinking about. Let your growth stir the question, did I lose something amazing? Because once that question is in his mind, he'll never look at you the same way again. No contact is often seen as the final move, the ultimate silence. But what most people don't realize is that it's not just about stopping communication. It's about preparing yourself for what comes next, because eventually, if he does come back around, you need to be ready. Not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, and with absolute clarity about who you are and what you deserve. The silence is not a pause in the story. It's the chapter where you rise, where you sharpen your standards, and where you decide what kind of love you'll accept moving forward. One of the biggest mistakes people make when going no contact is thinking it's a temporary strategy to get someone back. That mindset keeps you stuck. It keeps you checking your phone, watching their social media, wondering if they've noticed your absence. But the real power of no contact is that it creates a boundary, not just for them, but for you. It's a sacred space where you get to rebuild your self-worth and where you stop negotiating your value. So when or if they come back, it won't be about them anymore. It will be about whether they align with the life you've built in their absence. That shift changes everything. You have to remember that anyone can miss you. Missing someone is easy. What matters is how they come back. Do they return with accountability or just curiosity? Do they offer growth or just nostalgia? Are they stepping forward with maturity or simply reaching out because you stopped giving them access? This is why preparation is key. During no contact, you're not just healing, you're evolving. You're getting clear on what you won't tolerate. You're reflecting on what patterns you ignored. You're setting new non-negotiables, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. The pain may have cracked your heart, but it also opened your eyes. And in that clarity, you realize you're not available for half love. You're not entertaining someone who left you in confusion just because they suddenly remember you. You're not the same person they walked away from. That's the goal. You've used this time to build emotional strength, to rediscover the parts of you that got dimmed in the relationship. Maybe you stopped expressing your needs. Maybe you quieted your voice. Maybe you sacrificed too much for the sake of peace. Now all of that changes. Because this time, if they want to be in your life, they'll have to meet the new standard. The one that says, I don't settle for potential, I match with intention. And preparation isn't just about protecting yourself from them, it's about being honest with yourself. If he does return, will you be tempted to fall into old habits? Will the sound of his voice unravel all the progress you've made? That's why the inner work matters. You have to be so grounded in your growth that no amount of sweet words or familiar feelings can pull you back into what once broke you. You're not here to repeat lessons, you're here to graduate from them. It's also about understanding the difference between loneliness and love. Sometimes we confuse the two. We think we miss the person, but really, we miss the comfort, the routine, the feeling of being wanted. But if they didn't show up the way you needed before, if they couldn't meet you with effort, consistency, and clarity, then what you're missing isn't love, it's a fantasy. And when they return, you need to be prepared to tell the difference. Preparation means setting emotional boundaries. You can forgive without forgetting. You can listen without inviting chaos back into your life. You can feel the warmth of familiarity without letting it melt your standards. You have the power to respond from your healed self. Ask yourself, what do I want if he comes back? And more importantly, what do I need? If the answer is peace, loyalty, emotional safety, mutual respect, then that's your filter. That's your measure. And anything less, no matter how tempting, is not enough. Because here's the truth. If someone comes back and they haven't changed, you'll find yourself in the exact same cycle. Only now, it'll hurt more because you'll know better. And knowing better means choosing better. So you don't wait for him, you prepare in case. You get stronger, Not because you expect him to return, but because you know someone, someday, will show up with the kind of love you don't have to question. And until then, you refuse to be distracted by anything less. That's the real power of no contact. It's not silence for the sake of silence. It's silence with purpose. It's the space where you reclaim your worth, realign with your values, and become the version of yourself that doesn't need him to come back, but is more than ready if he does, and does it right. You'll know you're prepared when the thought of his return no longer shakes you, when you don't feel excitement, but awareness, when you can greet it with calm, with confidence, and with boundaries that don't bend. That's when you've truly gone beyond no contact. That's when you've won, whether he comes back or not.